This episode is brought to you by Sheeta and
Nikki
from Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki podcast. Creating quality episodes takes plenty of time, energy, and can be quite costly. If you have gained value in our podcast and would like to support us, please consider being a subscriber to our show.
By becoming a monthly subscriber, you will have access to all episodes, exclusive content, giveaways, and podcast merchandise. You will even have an opportunity to be shouted out on an upcoming episode. We have goals for our podcast, and to help us achieve those goals, sign up to be a monthly subscriber by clicking the link in our bio and click on the subscribe to our podcast link. Now let's get into today's episode.
Hi everyone, my name is Camilla O'Brien and I'm the owner of Focus Spender, and you're listening to Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki, and I'm today's featured guest. Now let's get into it.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining Real Conversations with
Sheeta and
Nikki. So we'd like to introduce today's featured guest, which is Camilla O'Brien. She's a personal finance coach and the owner of Focus Spender.
Camilla, she produces financial education content on debt, money management, savings, and investing. Camilla offers one-on-one coaching and also has digital products to manage your budget and cash flow. We've discussed finances on our previous episodes and believe it to be so important to continue to discuss the importance of finances, because it is such a major part of our lives, and it's so important to incorporate smart financial routines to save, invest, and budget your money. Everyone wants financial freedom, and discussing finances is the first step to getting there.
So with that being said, thank you so much, Camilla, for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we know that our listeners are going to benefit so much from this episode. Everyone wants to save money, learn how to make money. So do you want to kind of let everybody know a little bit about yourself and how you got started on this journey?
Sure. So when I graduated from grad school, I had maybe like $75,000 worth of student loan debt, and I was just paying it off on schedule like everyone else. And then at some point, right before one of my birthdays, my sister said, I have a gift for you and it's going to change your life. So she gave me this book called The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And so I read the book and I thought, oh, I think I can actually follow this. I think I can figure out a way how to pay off my debt much quicker than what, my student loan companies were telling me that I needed to do. So I read the book. So then I created a schedule for myself where basically I said, okay, I'm going to take the next 5 years to pay off the student loan debt. And then I started working the schedule and I actually paid off my entire debt in 3 years. So by the time I started, I had $65,000 worth of debt, and then I paid that off in the next 3 years. And then during that time, I decided to start my YouTube channel. So YouTube, this was around 2010, and YouTube was still in its infancy. And so I was like, I want to do this, but I don't want to do hair videos because that's all I was watching, and I didn't. That was not my talent to do hair. So I just started documenting that progress. And then, as my money journey evolved, like once I was past my student loans and I decided I wanted to do other things like invest, I decided to start documenting that as well. And that's basically how I got started.
That's amazing. 65,000 in 3 years.
Yeah, that is phenomenal.
Yes. I would assume you have to be very staying on task with discipline.
Yeah. Discipline. Yeah. It took a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
It took a lot of discipline, but it also took taking side jobs to make extra money.
Yeah.
It took me also changing jobs where I was going to make more money, because at some point you can pinch every penny, but at some point you're going to run out of money.
Right.
And so at some point you have to figure out, well, how am I going to make more money to make this happen? So every month, I was looking for side jobs. I took on a tutoring job that paid pretty well. And then at some point I just switched jobs completely, and that gave me a good boost in income. But when I switched jobs and got a better raise, a better salary, I didn't increase my living expenses. So then I had that extra money to pay off the debt.
Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah.
So just live, I guess, kind of below your means, but you're not living above your means to where you're not able to save money. Even though you're making more money, you still want to keep your costs down. So now you have like more money that you can possibly save.
Yeah, people call that lifestyle creep. As their income increases, their lifestyle increases. Like how much they spend on their lifestyle increases. So, one day you're making, 60,000 and you're living off that income and everything is fine. But then you get a raise and you're making 65 or 70. And instead of just continuing with that initial lifestyle, you're like, well, you know what? I can afford a bigger car. I can afford a bigger house. And then they do that to the point where their expenses start to outpace their income.
Right, right. And I think it's so hard for people to do that sometimes. Because it's like when you make more money, like you said, you make more money, then you're like, now I can afford this. Right. But it's in reality, no, you can't if you want to save money.
Right.
Especially if you're not thinking of like the bigger picture, like what your end goal is. If you're just thinking about day to day, that's going to happen. But if you know what your end goal is, it's much easier to stay on task.
Yeah, stay disciplined.
Yes, definitely.
So when did you realize the importance of money?
I think pretty young. So I remember being in college and I was in this organization called NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, and somebody came to speak to us at one of our general meetings, and they started talking about IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, if you just invested $100 a month starting at age 18, by the time you're, 65, you'll have $1 million. Mm-hmm. I think I was 21 at the time. And in my mind, I was like, oh, life is over. I should have started. What am I going to do now?
Right.
So I remember that being like the first time I had ever heard about investing. Because growing up, my family, my aunt, she invested in her 401k. Mm-hmm. My dad probably invested in his 401k, but nobody ever talked about it. Like everything, my family's from the Caribbean, and everything is just save your money, buy a house. Save your money, buy a house. Right. And investments, too risky, don't do it. So I didn't really think about it. I thought it was just for rich people. I didn't even think there was an option for me. But then I read another book, a book by Susie Orman. And so then I started thinking, okay, I can try and invest. I can try, getting an IRA. So I did that before I even went to grad school. I had opened up an IRA and I just put in I think I was putting in $100 a month. It wasn't a lot. But then at some point I stopped when I went to grad school. And then I kept getting the statements and I noticed that I was still making money, even though I had stopped contributing. And I realized there's something to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it always stuck in my head, like when you can afford to really invest, you have to do it because that is the way to really make your money grow.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you with your business, The Focused Spender. Do you encounter people that have knowledge or background of investing, or are they just relatively new on the scene of investing?
Well, it really depends. So just thinking about my videos in general. So we could think about it in two places. When I think about the people who watch me on YouTube, most of those people are either people who have invested already and just like to watch investment content, or people who are thinking about it. And then thinking about financial coaching, a lot of times when people come to me with their investment questions, it's not that they are completely brand new to investing. It's more so that they are just really confused as to what they're doing. So they're like, I know I need to open up this type of an account, but I don't know what to do from there. I don't know, should I put this amount in my 401k? Should I do this amount in individual stocks. And so it's not that they don't know anything. It's more like they just need somebody to answer their questions. Like they have very basic questions that they might be a little embarrassed to ask. And so they'll just come to me for those questions.
Yeah. Because I will say I was introduced to you through YouTube because I wanted to start investing more and just trying to find out smart ways to invest where I will get reasonable profit back. So I was introduced to you through YouTube as well. I have 3 children. I'm engaged. So investing is really a big aspect that something that I really want to learn more about, and something that I can teach my children as well, just about longevity and just finances and just being more smart with your money. I just stumbled upon your YouTube videos, and then that's how I learned about the M1 finance and dividends. So I started looking into that more just from watching your YouTube videos. Yeah, so it's definitely important just to try to invest, just to learn, just wanting to learn.
It's
so important.
And I think even with your children, I think kids are their money habits, your money habits as an adult pretty much are formed from however you're raised. So like if you learn about investing and if you learn about just saving in general when you're a kid, even if you're not following it right away, because I think sometimes parents get frustrated, like my child's out there just spending willy-nilly, but they're getting that background so that when they are more mature, they're able to be like, you know what, I did learn about this, I did learn about that, let me go ahead and look into it. So even with your kids, like they have custodial accounts where your kids can start investing money now. I mean, you are the custodian of the account, so you're making the final decision, but you can like get them started with saying, okay, well, you got a little bit of money for Christmas or for your birthday. Why don't we put this into a mutual fund or ETF? Or why don't we buy 2 shares of your favorite company? So,
that is important. As far as what you were saying, like when you're younger, learning those traits, I feel like I was kind of caught in the middle because my mother, she doesn't like to spend money on anything. She's gonna hold on to it. And then my father, on the other hand, he was more or less like, if you want something, you got the money, go and buy it. So he would spend, and I think maybe my mother might kind of have to keep him a little bit like, okay. And I kind of went over to his side. So I like to spend, and that's the issue that I have with saving money. And I know that that's one of the things that you had talked about as well. You were talking about an emergency fund. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because for some of us, that is just, how do we even get there? Yes. How do we even get there?
Yeah. So I think, emergencies happen. And I think everybody has to be clear. Nothing is guaranteed. Honestly, like let's look at 2020 as an example. Like 2020, nobody could have predicted that year, like the year we just had, was going to happen. People lost their job. Thankfully, the government was able to provide some type of stimulus checks, but it left people in a lurch where, if the government didn't say we're going to stop evictions, how many people would have just been evicted off of the strength of not being able to pay your rent? So it's like you have to prepare for the worst, and not in like a doomsday situation, but just knowing that things happen and you need to be prepared. So what I like to do, like, especially I'm thinking about whenever people come to me for investment advice, one of the first questions I ask is, well, how much money do you have saved in an emergency fund? Because if you don't have money saved, let's not even talk about investing. Let's just talk about building up those funds first. So thinking about strategies to build your emergency fund, just like with everything, the biggest thing when it comes to saving is saving first. So let's say you get paid today. You don't want to say, okay, I'm going to buy everything I need, and then whatever is left over, I'm going to put that in the bank. because you're going to have $10 to put in the bank. You want to, you want to take your paycheck. You want to come up with that amount that you need. Let's say you think, okay, you know what? I have about $1,000 of expenses, fixed expenses every single month, like mortgage, utilities, etc. And I want to have a 6-month emergency fund. So that means $6,000. How much can I afford to save every month? So let's say you can save $500 every single month. Then when you get your paycheck, pretend you get paid monthly. When you get your paycheck, the first thing you want to do is take $500, put it into your savings account, and then the rest of your money that's left over is what you're going to be using to spend for everything else. So the key is basically coming up with a number first, giving yourself a time frame to get to that number, and then saving before you do anything. Like you have your bills, you say, basically your savings, like putting money into your savings account should be like paying a bill, but the bill is to yourself. Right. You just have to make it a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't touch it unless there's an actual emergency. Like I think, and the thing that's where people get tripped up, like I have an emergency fund. I don't know if I've ever touched it because I have separate savings. So it's like that emergency fund is like, if I lose every single dollar, everything I have, I know I still have that little pot of money for an emergency.
That's good. That's good. But that's something that I can work with.
And you don't even have to start with 6 months. You can start with 3 months. I mean, at minimum, start with 1 month. Like you just want to start someplace.
Yeah, day to day. Day by day, or month by month.
Yeah. Hi everyone, this is Nikki
and Sheeta
from Real Conversations with Sheeta and Nikki. I wanted to talk with you about the importance of having a morning routine. Did you know, according to a poll conducted by a website named The Sleep Judge, the poll consisted of more than 1,000 participants. Data concluded found that individuals who stuck to a morning routine earn more than a whopping $12,000 more per year than those who have a casual approach to the morning.
Having a morning routine has shown to increase energy and productivity, as well as having better focus and improved happiness. Having a morning routine is not about perfection, but about consistency. There will be days when your morning routine will be thrown off or simply can't be completed that day, and that's okay. That's why we suggest habit nest journals.
Habit nest journals take you day by day with numbered pages and words of encouragement and tips for each day. Habit nest journals help you set a morning routine that's customizable for each individual's personal needs. Please click the link in our bio for your habit nest journal today.
So, did you have a mentor or a coach to kind of help guide you with your finances? I know you mentioned a couple of books that you had read, but did you have like a mentor or coach, someone one-on-one?
I didn't, and I think that's probably the reason why I wanted to start my YouTube channel, because I definitely was searching around a lot for financial advice on the internet, and I wasn't finding that much. It's totally different now. Like you can find those resources are there now, but back in 2010, 2009, I wasn't finding much. So really I had to just rely on myself. So like even thinking about when I wanted to invest money. So we have this news station in New York called 1010 Wins. It's like all day news that only elderly people and myself listen to. So I would always hear there would be commercials for bonds or stocks, and they would always say, "Oh, call your financial advisor for more information." But then, when I would hear commercials for financial advisors, they would say, you have to have at least $250,000 to invest. I didn't have $250. I probably had $1,000 to invest. Right. So it was like, me starting my channel was just knowing that there were probably other people like me who had questions, had no resources. And so I was just sharing my personal experience. But other than that, none. I think one time there are financial advisors that, sell insurance, and they'll meet with you. They'll talk about your finances, but then, with the end goal of selling you insurance. Right. And I met with someone like that, but I think by that point I had already gotten out of debt and I had already started investing. And so when I showed him what I was doing, he was like, nope, you're good. So I wish I had somebody. I could have, done this a little bit quicker, but I didn't.
Yeah. And I'm really appreciative of you and starting your YouTube channel because, I learned a lot from you. So I'm glad that you did, start your YouTube channel and decided to really reach out to people because you saw that there was because like you said, it was commercials out there, but those commercials probably weren't reaching the type of people,
they were
to really help them, because everybody doesn't have $250,000.
Yeah, most people don't.
So for you,
the average person does not.
So you kind of bridged that gap and was able to reach out to people like me that have 3 kids and still work and that kind of struggle with saving but want to invest for longevity. So I'm glad that you started and that you're
Thank you. Thank you.
So what are some simple ways people can invest their money?
Well, I always recommend the first thing you should do if your employer has a retirement account, whether it's a 401k, 403b, I always recommend you start there because you have to prepare for your retirement. If they don't, and even if they do, let's say they do, but they have a small match, they don't have a match, then your next step is an IRA, an individual retirement account. And so you can do that pre-tax using a traditional IRA or post-tax using a Roth IRA. And basically, that's also a very simple thing to do. You open up your account and then you can find a mutual fund, which is just a group of stocks and bonds, and then invest your money using that. If you have done your 401k, if you have your IRA, and you still have money to invest, you can, purchase an ETF. So an ETF is also like a mutual fund, but the cost to enter an ETF is so much lower. It trades like the price of a stock. So you don't need like $3,000 to start an ETF. You just need, if the ETF share is $30, then you need $30 to start. And you can start with a taxable account. But thinking about, there's so many apps you can use to invest. So you have M1 Finance, which I love, because that way, I know a lot of people are like itching to buy individual stocks because it kind of makes you feel like you're an investor, where it's like you probably should just go with a fund that's already packaged with lots of diverse stocks. But if you're itching to buy individual stocks, you can use a program, an app like M1 Finance, and that's M with a Mary, like Mary.
Yeah.
And then you can build a portfolio that has a number of different stocks so that you're not just investing in one stock and you're investing in a basket of stocks. I think that's where people get tricked up with investing. They think, they're like, I have a hot stock, so I'm going to put all of my money into this one stock. And that is the quickest way to lose all of your money.
Yes.
The quickest way. Like, do not call me and say, I have all my money in XYZ company. You're going to lose it. And it's not even like, I'm not even saying that the company is a terrible company. It's more like you're going to be so paranoid about your money all being into that one stock. The second that the price drops, you're going to want to sell it, and then you're going to lose your money. Yeah. And then there's no point. So
yeah. I think that is like a big misconception too with trading and investing, because people want money tomorrow or yesterday.
Yes.
But with investing and trading, it takes time. It's for a long term or longevity. You can't really expect to invest your money one day and then be rich the next day.
I think
and I think people think that they're just gonna get rich the next day because
Not.
Apple stocks are up today, and it's like it doesn't work like that. And it really does take time. And I don't know, some people aren't really as patient and as disciplined to really do that. Like, it's not for everyone. That investing in stock is not for everyone because it does take patience. Like, psychologically, you have to prepare yourself.
Yeah, and I think that is the key. Like, you have to go in thinking about the long game and being patient. There's a difference with like investing in day trading. So a day trader is sitting there, they're buying at $1.001 and selling at $1.005, and they're doing that throughout the day. So if you want to do that, that's fine, but that is high risk, and that needs to be your job because like you have to sit and be on top of it. The average person is never going to become a day trader. So the average person, yes, regular investing is the way to go, but you have to be patient. Like, cannot wake up and expect to be a billionaire. That's just luck. You just have to be a lot more patient.
So one thing that I want to ask you was, I saw that you were talking about like your financial goals on getting there. Why it's so important that you do not compare your journey to someone else's journey. So like, say for example, like how you say you were able to pay off your loans within that time frame. Someone else may say, oh, I didn't do it at the same time as Camilla. Like, I'm not going to be able to hit my goal. Everybody has to go along with their own personal progress. So can you talk a little bit about that and why people shouldn't be discouraged?
Yeah, and I say that because you don't know someone else's financial situation. Like, when I got out of that debt, I still do, but I had a really good deal with where I was living. So my mortgage wasn't that high. I didn't have a car, so I didn't have that extra expense. I don't have children, so I didn't have, children stealing all my money. And I was able to get a higher paying job. And the funny thing is that I have a video from years ago where I talked about this, but the job that I had that was paying me, and I make more now, so it's not even like it was that much money, but at the time it felt like a lot of money. I hated the job. Tears would come out of my eyes thinking about the fact that I had to go to work the next morning. Like, I need to quit this job. But then at some point I was like, you know what? I just need to keep working here until I pay off this debt. And then I think I paid off the debt in April 12th, 2012. And I kept working for the company. And then I think by that July I was gone. Like, I was able to find a new job and I was out of there and I was so much happier. But it's like, you don't understand the sacrifices someone has to make in order to get where they're at. So unless you are clear on those sacrifices and are willing and able to make the exact same sacrifices, you can't compare yourself to someone else. It's not fair to yourself. It's not fair to them. It doesn't even make any sense, and it's not going to help you in the long run.
Right. Exactly. I love that, because a lot of times people, they don't understand. They don't see the other side of what's going on with someone else's story. You have to create your own situation, scenario, and story. And hey, even if you don't hit the mark at the exact time, you may say, I want to pay off my loans within 4 years. Sometimes life happens and you may have to do another year or maybe 2 years. But as long as you have that end goal in mind, just be patient and just know that you're going to get there.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's mathematics. Like, I think people trip where like they'll mess up in 1 month. But it's like, if you just put the numbers on the paper, you can see by math that it's going to disappear if you just keep paying. It's going to go away. Yeah. It's just going to go away. But you have to keep that discipline, even if you falter a month or two or here or there.
So any books, I know you mentioned a couple of finance books, but are there any other books in particular that kind of helped you through your financial journey? Because I know you mentioned the Dave Ramsey book and the Susie Orman.
Yeah, so so it was Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover. It was Young, Rich, and Fabulous by Susie Orman. Another book that I read, and I know I'm butchering the name, but the book It's called like How to Retire with Enough Money and How to Know What Enough Is. And I read that book maybe like 5 years ago, and I think I did a video on it as well. And that book helped me because at some point, like I was investing, but I didn't even understand my goal for investing. It was like, okay, I'm investing. Am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough?
Right.
Am I doing too much? How much am I going to need? Like, do I want to work till I'm 70? Do I want to work till I'm 60? Do I want to work till I'm 55? Like, what do I need?
Right.
And where's the money going to come from? So using like from that book, it talked a lot about Social Security. I think a lot of people rely on Social Security a little bit too much. I remember having an economics class in my grad school. My professor was like, Social Security is going to run out by 2047. I thought, wait a minute. What? So, thinking about like, okay, I'm putting money in Social Security just by working, but if that's not enough, I have my 401k, but if that's not enough, what else do I need to do? So that book really helped me to put everything in perspective once I was out of debt.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I like to read, self-help books, but that's more like keeping myself motivated. Like I read the book Atomic Habits. I read a book called One Goal or Power of One. It's basically, the whole premise is just focusing on one goal at a time, as opposed to having 5 million and achieving nothing. It's like, let's just focus on this one goal and like do that to the best you can, and then move on to something else.
Yeah. So your business Focus Spender, what does that entail? What are there services that you offer?
So I offer one-on-one coaching with general money management. So like if you're trying to organize your finances, if you're trying to pay off debt, if you're trying to save more, then I'll work with you one-on-one. I'll work with you one-on-one to like help create that plan for you and help create a plan that is realistic for you, because you could Google what's the best budget for such and such, but that they have no bearings on your life. So coming up with a budget that actually makes sense for you. And then I also do, I offer another service called Investor Helper. Basically using that, it's for people who have been investing or want to invest and just, they're not sure where to start. They just have questions. So I do that. And then with my YouTube channel, it's just always, providing content about different financial topics, and then talking about different financial apps that might be of interest to people.
Okay. So is it just you doing the one-on-one coaching, or do you have like a team of people?
No, it's just me. So I do have a full-time job. So this is what I do part-time in addition to my job. So it's just me.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think people love that personalized plan just for them, because you can understand their situation, what their money is looking like, how I can help you personally versus like how you said, just going online. It's just general for everyone. To have that personal touch, that's great.
So did you want to just tell everyone where they could contact you if they wanted to sign up for your one-on-one coaching?
Sure. So if you go to my website, www.focusspender.com, literally as soon as you log in, you'll see schedule an appointment. And so you click on that, it'll take you to my different offerings. If you just want to find me, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all at Focus Spender. And that's about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for just taking the time out today just to talk to us and educate us and our listeners more on finance and investing.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for listening. So I wanted to close out with today's takeaway, which is all of your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. And that is from Walt Disney.
Yes, that is a very good quote. So today we just want to thank our guests from Focus Spender for joining us on today's episode. and taking the time out to talk to us today. We also want to thank our listeners. We want to thank you all for all of the positive support and the feedback. And if you want to be featured on our upcoming episode, please email us or contact us on Instagram at realconversations21 or email us at realconversations21@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. This is another episode of Real Conversations with Sheeta and
Nikki.